Pakistan has many reports. It's had many promises to create a successful education system going back to the 5-year plans in the 1950s. Pakistan does not need another report. What it does need is somebody to pay attention to the implementation of the reports it already has. And so I said that if Pakistan government invited me, I would spend some time on that problem. So that started it, and the successive British politicians, including the change of government, have supported that ever since. Inside of Pakistan, every politician I met, whatever party, said, yes, that's our problem. We want better education. We've made our promises, but we need to get better at implementation. And the one who grabbed most on this idea was the Chief Minister of this province, Shehbaz Sharif. So those are, if you like, the political origins. Then there's some conceptual origins. We're in a university, so we need to talk about conceptual things just for a moment. We looked at comparable places to Punjab in other countries. We looked at Minas Gerais in Brazil, which had improved its education system in the middle of the last decade. We looked at Madhya Pradesh in India, which had improved its education system in the last half of the last decade. We looked at Western Cape in South Africa, which had improved its education in the last 10 years. And from that, we were able to draw out a set of policies that we had an evidence base that those policies would work, and we turned them into the roadmap. I'll describe them in a minute. But there's another conceptual origin, because getting the policy right, while difficult and while always the focus of the media and the journalists, getting the policy right is only 10% of the problem. 90% of the problem is making the policy happen right across Pakistan. In this province, there are 60,000 government schools, there are 40,000 low-cost private schools. Whatever your policy, how do you make it work in every one of those schools? How do you make 300,000 teachers benefit from those policies? So, one origin was the policies, which I'll describe, but the second origin is thinking about how to do implementation. In my role in the British government that Adil mentioned a few minutes ago, my job was implementation. I didn't do policy in Downing Street, I did implementation. We learned together how to do effective implementation in health and education, even in making the trains run on time, at least sometimes. And I learned a lot, and my colleagues and I learned a lot. And then after I left the British government, I did that work in other countries, in Ontario, in Canada, in Louisiana, in the US, in Massachusetts, in the US, in Malaysia, in other countries. And we learned systems for making things happen. So the roadmap has a set of policies, and then it has a system for making things happen, a delivery approach. There are also some origins that are to do with history, to do with the history of what's happened in Pakistan, all those promises made but not kept, all those goals set but not delivered, all those plans published but not implemented. This time, it's going to be different. This time, it already is different. Parents and families and communities across Pakistan, whenever I talk to them, they want their children to be well educated. But in the period when nothing was changing, when the school system seemed not to work, when often teachers weren't there, when the schools would go to schools, when there were no textbooks, when if the children did go to school, they didn't learn anything. The parents became resigned. They gave up. They didn't think it was a good idea to have their children sitting on the ground with a torn-up textbook and no teacher supervision. So people began to get resigned to failure. They began to believe in their own heads that nothing could change. We had to change that here. That's what we've been able to do as a result of the Chief Minister's commitment and the wonderful officials in Punjab who are coming to the The other thing to say about Pakistan's education system at the beginning is you couldn't improve it by being cautious. There was no point in being incremental. It wasn't a good system. It was a very bad system. Even if you took children who had been in school 3 years, 35% of them could not do single-digit subtraction. They couldn't do 8 to 3 after 3 years in school, because they were in schools like this. So we had to be bold. I'm a big fan of reading history books. I happen to be reading the story of the life of Lord Nelson, the British admiral who 200 years ago won back with Trafalgar, and he said this: I'm of the opinion that the boldest measures are the safer. It's safer in Pakistan to be bold, ambitious, and to go for something than it is to stay as it is. Staying as it is, doing nothing, is not an option, either for the education system or for many of the other problems that Pakistan faces. So, for those who advocate, and I meet them sometimes, more incremental change, for those who say the roadmap is too ambitious or too fast, my answer is, how long do you think we've got? We have to move fast. Pakistan needs to change urgently. I described the demography only a few minutes ago. The risks of doing something ambitious are much less than the risks of doing nothing. And then there's the other thing about Pakistan, which is that it has crises. You remember the flood in August of 2010. This is just one picture. You've seen many of them. Many of you probably experienced it directly. When I came to Pakistan just after the flood, I met some education officials. This is in Islamabad. They said to me, we can't do education reform anymore. We've had a flood. I said, I'm quite a ruthless person actually. I said, did the flood make your schools better? If the flood didn't make your schools better, we still have the job we had to do before the flood. The flood changes nothing. It changes what's in your head, but it doesn't change the circumstances for a child who's not being educated. And soon after that, I met Shehbaz Sharif here in Lahore for the first time. I talked to him about the problems that we had in Punjab education system. He said he wanted to do better. He asked us to build a roadmap based on the example that I gave you a few minutes ago. And we put together the roadmap, and I want to take you through the elements of the roadmap. These are some of the beautiful children now being educated in Punjab that a few years ago weren't being educated. The roadmap has two segments really. One is it has a series of elements based on best practice in reforming education systems, and then it has some innovations. And I want to take you through each one of those elements of the roadmap briefly. The first thing to say about the roadmap is we've implemented it quickly. So Shehbaz Sharif decided on to approve the roadmap in December 2010, and we began implementation 1 month later. We didn't spend 2 years writing an education sector plan, as often happens. We acted within a month. We put the elements together. I came every month from then on, every 2 months now. Each month, or each 2 months, I sit with Shahbaz Sharif and we review progress with all the officials in the room. We check. And these are the things we put in place. First of all, we set targets. We said we're here in 2011, where would we like to be in 2013? We set targets for March 2013. That's why this is the right time to do the lecture. Yesterday I was able to report to the Chief Secretary and the Chief Minister every one of those targets has been met. We know they've been met because for the first time in Punjab, the first time in Pakistan, and actually the first time anywhere in the world, we have a system in which we get monthly data from every single school in the system. Every single month, 960 men on motorbikes go to 60,000 schools and check, are the students there, are the teachers there, are the textbooks there, have the facilities being fixed, and some other things. They check, and we check their data so we know that the data is accurate. No one of those people ever goes to the same school twice within a 6-month period. There are no corrupt relationships. The February data from last month was in Lahore by March the 10th. It was analysed by March the 15th. It was reported to the Chief Minister on March the 25th. And back in the districts now. Some of the EDOs who've done this wonderful work across Punjab are in the hall now. Before the roadmap, they were often honourable people, but they couldn't do their job because they never knew whether they were succeeding or failing. Now they know. They have the data every single month. They know, everybody knows in every district, how do I compare to every other district in Punjab. This is amazing. It's a privilege. This is the one system in the entire world that gets monthly data on that basis. It's fantastic. That's the basis of the roadmap. Then we come to some other things. District administration. The EDOs know this because I spent this morning with them with my team of colleagues, and they know that things are changing. How are they changing? First of all, the EDOs now are appointed on merit, no political interference. They're appointed by the Secretary, who's sitting right here, through a committee on the basis of their achievements. No longer on this. It's a proud task to be an EDO in Punjab because you're a cutting edge of reform, and getting to be an EDO requires merit to be able to show that you can do the job. The second thing is all of those EDOs are trained to do the job. This is improved administration. We don't do general capacity building. We don't send the EDOs on courses in some remote location for a few days. We train them using the data to focus on achieving the targets. We get into the detail. They learn from each other. That's the second big part of getting the district administration better. And then, of course, they're now held to account by the Secretary and his team on the degree to which they deliver on the targets. And the most successful EDOs are rewarded as a result of that. The third part of the roadmap is about teacher quality. One of the things we know from India and some countries in Africa like Tanzania is if you increase enrollment but you don't improve quality, what you get is improving enrollment and declining quality. That's actually not that much of a gain. That's what's happened right across India. In Punjab, we're doing improved enrollment and improved teacher quality together. Every teacher has lesson plans for every day of every year in English, maths and science. Every teacher is trained to use those lesson plans. In April, every child in Punjab will have a new textbook for every subject. It's fantastic. They will be able to follow in the textbook what the teacher is teaching the lesson. And starting in September, every teacher will have a monthly visit from a coach, a district teacher educator, who will visit the class and help them improve their teaching month after month after month. No other country in the world does that kind of teacher development on that system. And then there's enrollment. You know, enrollment campaigns have been happening in Pakistan for many, many years. But for some reason, we still have 20 or 30% of the children not in school. That's not acceptable. It's not acceptable for the 21st century. So you have to ask, what's the enrollment campaign we were doing in the past, a good enrollment campaign? And the answer is, it can't be, because if there were good enrollment campaigns, every child would be in school. But they're not in school. So we need to change that. So now the enrollment campaign is monitored by independent data. We collect data completely independent system every 6 months to check whether the number of children in school, the percentage of children in school is increasing, and it is increasing. We use better maths. We're understanding district by district, village by village, what you have to do to get children into school. My team, some of them sitting here, last month they went to DG Khan in the southwest of Punjab. They visited a remote village. The official says every child in this village is in school, but my team found 80 children in one village not in school. The population is growing 2% a year. The villages are changing, the towns are changing. The maps are out of date. You have to go and look for the children. In 2 days, my team persuaded more than 50 of those 80 children to join the school. They did that by taking along a child with them, saying, this girl's in school, why don't we go with her? Showing them a new textbook, bringing along a teacher who's a good teacher who was persuaded them to come. Imagine if we did that in every village in Punjab. The schools would be bulging, the children would be flooding the school, the enrollment campaign would be successful. When people went home in the evening, they'd be watching Shehbaz's television programs, and they'd be reminded that they should be in school. We can do that across Punjab. That's what we spent yesterday and today with the media was talking about. They're going to do more of that in April, and more again in September, and more again next year. This year, last year we added, in the last 2 years we added approaching 1.5 million children aged 5 to 16 to the school system. This year we're going to try and add 3.5 million extra children to the school system.